Yeah. Yeah. I know they mad for no reason. I'm holding on to change my life. Gotta move fast for a reason. I'm holding on to change my life. Huddling, I'm staring at charts until I retire. Yeah. Huddling, I'm staring at charts until I retire. Oh, 700K, I'm selling a Bitcoin. Haters mad, but they listen to this one. More profit coming to my direction. Yeah, you know me, I don't need a mention. I got the remedy, ooh, yeah. They don't just follow me, ooh, yeah. You say allegedly, ooh, yeah. You would subscribe to me, ooh, yeah. Staring at chart, drawing a line. Make a decision, you out of time. Huddling, I'm staring at charts until I retire. Yeah. Huddling, I'm staring at charts until I retire. Yeah. See on stage. On-chain revolution. Done this. Phone.
Welcome back to On-Chain Revolution. My name is Shizzy on this channel. We cover the entire crypto ecosystem. What's up, guys? We have an amazing show for you guys today. We're live for the On-Chain Hour, and today's show is going to be good in the sense of the show, not the price action. So we got right now, we have $84,638 for Bitcoin. So last night, Bitcoin suffered insane losses. I was watching some stock shows this morning, and they were like, we were good all weekend. Stocks were good all weekend until Bitcoin zeroed out, meaning like 00 UTC. And, Bitcoin crashed. It went from 91,000 down to where we're sitting at right now, 84, and it's continuing. This is continuing downtrend. It sucks, right? We are in December. We do have Raoul Pal speaking tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern time. Basically going over everything about quantitative tightening ending and all that stuff. So that'll start today. We're going into a pause cycle. It does look like in about 9 days from today, we're going to have the Fed meeting and potentially get a rate cut. But we're still in a macro environment where we have to keep paying attention to the macro. And it sucks because macro is terrible. I want to get to a point where we could just live in a world where things are just happening because they're happening, not because we're in a macro cycle and stuff like that. Well, I don't know. Maybe I'm thinking. Maybe I just don't know. I don't know at this point. But it is sad. My entire board is red right now, except one token, and that token is the Merlin token. And in about 30 minutes, we're going to have the great Jeff from Merlin Chain on the show. So that's going to be awesome. I'm going to ask him straight up, like, why is the Merlin token so strong? And when everything else is crazy. I'm going to just show you guys this for a second before I bring Yagobi up. Look, red. Everything's red. The only green is Merlin. Absolutely insane. Absolutely insane. But without further ado, I'm going to bring in my partner here, as always, Mr. Yagobi. What's up, buddy?
What's up? What's up? What's up?
What's up, man? How you feeling today, bro?
Feeling good. Feeling good. Good holiday kind of weekend, right? We did come back on Friday, and that was a great show. But kind of felt like the holiday carried over, right? A lot of football and stuff like that. Got to relax, but also paying attention to the trenches a bit. That there's some information with that. Obviously, today is the relaunch of Spark Network with FlashNet, so that's going to be exciting for later. And then kind of the Monad ecosystem getting a little bit of energy sucked out of it, and then the week in a bit of a shock, I would say, for Bitcoin to retrace to 86,000. It's kind of a gut punch, right? But at the end of the day, we move forward, right? And today could be a great day as quantitative tightening officially stops, right? So we'll get into that and what that means possibly.
Yeah, I'm gonna save our today's title till after Jeff. And kind of get into this stuff first. Quantitative tightening officially ends today after nearly 3 years. A big day for markets. Jerome Powell, chair of Fed Reserve, is scheduled to speak tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern time before markets open. So I'm a little afraid that Jerome Powell's gonna be like super tired. I know old people like to go to bed early, but he's speaking at 8 p.m. Eastern time. Like I don't remember him ever speaking this late before. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, I can't remember when the Jackson Hole speeches typically are. I think that might be like midday.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it is pretty late, right, for someone at that age. I ended up losing that bet, by the way, on the November thing.
Oh,
The coin glass thing. We'll get to that later. But it is interesting to kind of see what he's going to say about QT, right? Because some people might just have in their heads, and I don't blame them for trying to just rush to the assumption that QT ends and all of a sudden everything gets bullish. No, that's not
yeah.
how it works. Yes, did we come out of a tightening period? But there's no fresh liquidity that's being put into the markets yet, right? So it's just they're not taking out liquidity like they were during the tightening. So that's good for stabilization. But what is going to happen to get some energy created to really get into risk on? And so that's where I think 2026 could be like really that bullish year, right? Because if it takes a couple months to get liquidity going and re-injected into the markets, then 2026 seems like it could be a good thrust up year.
Yeah, for sure. And let's talk about what quantitative tightening is. Quantitative tightening is when the Fed goes into the bond market and sells bonds off its balance sheet and they accumulate dollars. Why is that not good? Well, if the Fed is accumulating dollars from the market, they're taking liquidity out of the market, right? Which means there's no need for them to print new money. So there hasn't been really any new money printing since it really started in December of 2021, but officially didn't start until June of 2022, right? So, but they were actually doing tightening. They just weren't calling it quantitative tightening until officially announcing it in June. That's where my mess up was on that. And then from June of 2022 until today, we've been in quantitative tightening. There's no new money. When you see the Fed like bailing out banks and stuff, they're just taking money from their balance sheet. It's not new money created. So we need to get to a point where the Fed is selling, or I'm sorry, going into the market and buying bonds, taking money off their balance sheet, and then adding the bonds to their balance sheet. But in the same way, eventually they got to print money to do that. And the Fed has the power to do that, right? So right now, quantitative tightening is done. So there's no more of that. There's no more selling. They won't be selling bonds anymore, which means potentially you might see some of these interest rates come down in the bond market, which means they're less attractive to big money, which means they got to figure out where they can get that missing percentage points. And then a lot of them take that money and they go into stocks. For them, stocks are the riskier of the two in that sense, because bonds are risk off.
Yeah, I mean, you're guaranteed a certain rate, right? And the U.S. hasn't ever not paid, interest on their debt and all that stuff, right? So, yeah, it's a very good breakdown, I think, of what QT is and coming out of it as well. So, how long is it going to take for things to get, I guess, a little bit of a relaxed environment to where people, take more risk on? I'm not sure, right? I mean, it's typically a couple months at least to get going. So that's what kind of does worry me a little bit about the Santa rally. But
Yeah.
we'll see how December plays out. I mean, definitely didn't have a great start for Bitcoin's price. And you can see the alt market took a hit as well, along with Bitcoin. But one thing I will say though is if there are large institutions that really believe in the future of Bitcoin, and they're going to rotate from these juicy interest rates that they were getting to something that's more risk on, then it has to be appetizing for them, right? It has to be something that they says, okay, it is riskier, but the upside is amazing for this, right? And bringing Bitcoin's price back down makes sense, in my opinion, before we go into like an environment like that, right? So buying it cheaper, where they can park their money in Bitcoin at like 70,000 or something like that, makes sense. And then they're forecasting or speculating that in 2026 it'll be at back to 120. That's a big gain for large size, right? So
Yeah. And you know, let's be real too. These bonds guys, they're very risk off. They're looking to get in S&P, right? They're looking to get into the Nasdaq. They're looking to get in
Indices.
indices, QQQ, stuff like that. But what that does, though, that drives up the price of those assets. The people that are in them now feel like they can go more risk on, so they get in stuff like the Russell. And the people that are in the Russell, they feel like they can get more risk on now because the Russell's going up, and they're able to take that and put
Trickle
that in
down
crypto.
effect.
The trickle down effect, but we're talking trillions of dollars, right? We're not talking, you know, billions in the sense, because when these bond guys hold trillions of dollars in the sense where you might see an insane amount of money start flowing into the stock market. And that's the thing, the stock market's been going up in risk off, which is wild, right? So we're kind of waiting to see what happens when we get risk on. I mean, I think it's going to be insane. I think that's what's really going to push crypto markets up. And if you're paying attention now, I feel you're going to win. But you are dealing with some bullshit right now, right? So we got to deal with the bullshit right now. Worst November in Bitcoin since 2018. So you were right, because it was 20% was the under over. So you still got it.
Wow, I'm shocked because, well, yeah, I think when we were talking about it when it was a negative 23%, I think Bitcoin was sitting at closer to 80, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So we ended up still having a better number than what it was at that 23%. But like you mentioned, worst November ever. And if you try to find something comparable,
just 2018.
Oh, okay. Yeah, 2018. Yeah, that's definitely way worse. But if you look at other kind of similar percentages, you see 2022, which was a bear market year, and then you see 2019, which a lot of people are correlating where we are in 2019 whenever QT stopped, right? Whenever they said that QT stopped in 2019. So you know, what happens in December? We've already got a start of, you know, being at a deficit, right, in terms of percentage, down 4%, almost 5%, and that aligns with 2019 too, finishing at least at 5% there. I do expect it to get better, but I don't know when. I just can't picture a depressed Christmas, but it could happen.
Yeah, I think it will be. I honestly don't see how we can push up right now. I mean, everyone in the market seems to be broke, dude. Like everyone, you know what I mean? So it's like the holders just can't hold right now. But look at this. This is a little bit, you know, you did mention very similar to 2019. This is what a lot of people are saying. You know, 2019 we had, you know, a bad November, a bad December, but look at January, up 30%. So potentially, let's just say we end December, I don't know, 90,000. Maybe we chop all December, right? 30% would bring us right back to all-time highs.
Yeah,
right?
it would, right? And people are anticipating 2026, but you know, January, I just remember last January or this January of 2025, and it was really tough. Obviously, completely different dynamics, you know, macro and the market. What is it going to look like next year? We're learning more and more. One of the things you brought up was Raoul Pal, and you know, maybe on my part, after watching that, like I realized that I misunderstood what he was trying to say.
Me too.
You know, he was the banana zone to me just sounds like, you know, chaotic in a good way, right? Like crazy alt season type of situation. But he was actually projecting Q1 and possibly parts of Q2 for that to happen, right? So that kind of starts to align with what else he was saying with the extended business cycle, the debt cycle, right? Which COVID pushed out a year. I don't know, you know, we keep kind of pushing it out, but you know, we haven't experienced it yet in terms of like the alt market and all that stuff. So he could be right here.
So this is exactly kind of what he said. He said Raoul Pal lays out his Bitcoin banana zone thesis, a phase where liquidity, adoption, and price action all go vertical. So this is kind of what we both misunderstood, and this is something from May, right? He put this out in May. I'm going to play this real quick. Let me know if you can hear it.
It's not a mystery.
Yep.
It is a repeat of the debt cycle. They are rolling the debts. They are doing the same thing. Each cycle is not to do with a halving cycle, nothing to do with any of that. It's all driven by liquidity cycle and funding of debts. Each phase, we get phase one of the banana zone, banana number one. The corrective zone, banana number two comes. Another correction, banana number three. So this is the banana zone. So that's what happened in 2020. 2021, off we go. Sorry, that was 2017, which again looks very similar to this one. That was the last one. Here we are now. It can't be clearer to me. I've shown you the macro evidence, the technical evidence, the sentiment evidence. Everything here suggests to me that hold on to your hats, don't fuck this up, don't lose control of your tokens, don't use leverage, don't get your wallets hacked, just sit with it, be careful, don't get FOMO, do all of the right things, and we'll go up to the next phase of correction zone. That's going to be harder because the next one that happens, we'll have a 35% drop, and you'll all say, is it over? And you'll definitely be sure it's over, and everybody on Twitter will tell you it's over, and it won't be over. By our work, we suggest that because of the elongation of the business cycle, because rates were higher for longer, the forward-looking liquidity suggests that, again, probabilistically speaking, without any guarantees, this whole thing goes into Q1, maybe Q2 of 2026, which would align with Trump's, trying to win the midterms as well. So everything's lined up for us. I think it started. So keep the faith, keep building stuff, and let's keep driving. It's not a mission.
All right. So a lot to take in there. Let me actually get rid of this. So a lot to take in there. So basically, he said, this is back in May, that we potentially just hit the first banana zone. Then you saw Bitcoin go to 100K down to 70K. That's what he was talking about. And he said the next correction will be down 35%. So then after that, Bitcoin went from 70K to 126, and then we had a 30% correction, right? And then everyone's telling you that it's over. He predicted this. He predicted all this, right? And then he says that he's expecting to run into Q1, but then maybe even Q2, which kind of lines up with everything that Benjamin Cohen's been saying kind of as well, right? So it's kind of like one of those things where, all the information was right there for us. We just didn't see it.
Yeah, that video was from May, right?
Yeah.
And so, I think if you break it down, it is kind of where we are right now, right? I don't know if he expected it to be this late in the year, or the oh no, it's over type of situation, but it does align with what he was saying, right? And then whether we get any type of rally this month or not, I think that's irrelevant, right? It could just be a sentiment rally or something. But then if it plays out in that similar situation, then yeah, Q1 and Q2 could look pretty good for 2026. I think in a market as a whole, with native Web3 people that are in this space every day, I think that's sentiment's probably at the all-time low. You and I actually kind of talked about that right before the show. And so it makes sense for that to align right now with what we're going through. But the people that are here are looking for opportunities, right? So that's something still to always keep your eye open for. And yeah, look, I like being wrong about Raoul Pal, because it sounds like if he's right, then we could see some energy and liquidity just thrust back in, which is what we need. When you get a second, check the chat.
Oh crap. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So basically, we're in that phase now of the 35% drop, and everyone says it's over. That's what got me when I rewatched this back, right? And I actually had to go looking for this, and I want to kind of see what he said, and I was like, damn, how did I miss this? But he basically said exactly what we're dealing with right now. We're going to see a 35% drop. Bitcoin dropped from 126 to 80. That's almost exactly 35%. It might even be 36%. And then, everyone's going to say it's done. That's exactly where we're at. But he said it won't be. And then, but when do we see the next phase of it? When do we see him kind of push up here? Like when do we start seeing? Because obviously we were right here, so now we're right here. When do we see this? Right. So if this is 70K back up there, but I think this thing should be way lower because where we hit here. So maybe we haven't even entered this yet. Maybe we're at the pre-one here. I don't know. Maybe we're here.
Well, I think that would align with parts of Q2 or, Q2 joining that party as well, because, that's half of a year. It's 6 months in crypto terms feels forever, right? So there's definitely enough time for that to play out. when does it start? That's been the tough question to answer this entire year. When does it start to get bullish as an industry? But one thing we do know, we've known this for a long time, is that risk on doesn't happen unless there's excess liquidity, and we just haven't had that.
Yeah, for sure. All right, let's move along. China's central bank reaffirmed its crypto ban and warned it will intensify its crackdown on stablecoins. So this is something that happens a couple times a year. China, is, if they're being very bullish on crypto, I guess they're kind of seeing the US's stand on crypto, and they don't want to enrich the US, I guess. And they also just want to take the opposite. That seems like they want to take the opposite of what the US is doing. US is becoming very crypto friendly. China is basically shunning it. We do know they have a CBDC though, which is a little weird. But it's not like a stable coin, right? Because it's their own coin there, CBDC. What do you think about this? Do you think this is just FUD, or do you think that, I feel like this happens every couple months?
I just think this is chess.
Yeah.
Global politics, chess type of stuff, right? It's been going on since 2017 that I remember, probably before that as well, right? And so, they know the plan. A lot of people have been talking about the plan that the US is taking to really lessen, I guess, the intensity of how impactful their debt is, and maybe they can take another strategy. I don't know, but this to me is just, it's a nothing burger. It's just one of the China headlines that we've dealt with, like you said, over the last 2 cycles. So
yeah, man. And then moving along though, Nasdaq's crypto chief says they're moving as fast as they can to get SEC approval on trading tokenized tokens. So Nasdaq right now is coming out and saying they want to tokenize every single stock that they have, and they want to put it on a new system. They want to upgrade Nasdaq for the first time ever. So what do you think of this? They're just waiting for SEC approval here, and people are saying that this comes with that crypto bill that Brian Armstrong's trying to get passed. So potentially in January, we might see Nasdaq come on chain fully in a centralized way, but still.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense for them to do this and push for this because they want to be the dominating kind of entity, right? For this, right? Nasdaq is all about like tech and future, the future opportunities in the stock market and stuff like that, right? So it makes sense for them to be the main entity for that, like tokenizing stocks. And if they don't do it, they're probably concerned that another entity is going to come up and try to establish itself, right? And you have BlackRock with the Texas Stock Exchange that's going to be very focused on digitizing stocks, and so they know that. They know where BlackRock goes and stuff is very, very important. And so I think that they just want to make sure, hey, look, we're a part of the TradFi system, but crypto and Web3 and digital assets are the future. They're the now and the future, and we have to be dominating there too.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's good to see though. It's definitely good to see them actually coming aboard here. So, Bitcoin treasury company Strategy acquired additional 130 Bitcoin for approximately 11 million at an average price of 89,000 per Bitcoin between November 17th and November 30th. Strategy has established a USD reserve of 1.44 billion for dividend payments. Right now, Strategy needs to pay 750 million in annual dividends. So Strategy they're saying they have plenty of money, but the reason why they haven't really been purchasing as much as they used to is because they've taken on all this new people coming in and buying the Bitcoin, and then they have to give them yield on that Bitcoin. So that's kind of the reason why they're kind of coming out and saying, that's why they aren't purchasing as much as they used to, is because they've already got so much recently off these new, Strategy F and all that stuff that they're doing.
Yeah, and they have to pay the 750 million in annual dividends too, right? So that goes to the believers in their system. So slowing down for them is not a bad thing. At some point, like they have to slow down, and like I said, maybe 10 years, 20 years, however long it takes, there's going to, in my opinion, I think there's going to be a point to where their Bitcoin is just valued so much that, it's not as much pressure on them because they've won so much at that point.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's the idea. That's the goal, right? For this whole system. But yeah, I'm not worried. Now, would I be worried if they're going to be selling down massive amounts? Yes. Bitcoin, that would worry me.
Well, I hope you got your worry shoes on, because the CEO
yeah, I heard this.
of Strategy came out, and let's play it.
We can sell Bitcoin, and we would sell Bitcoin if we needed to fund our dividend payments below 1x MNAV. And that would be, by definition, if BTC yield is our North Star, right? And that's sort of what our key, our primary KPI is, just like earnings per share might be an important KPI for a traditional company. Then under 1x MNAV, it's more creative to BTC yield to sell our Bitcoin to pay the dividends. And so we would do it in that case. Now, that said, right, as we speak, we have to look at liability management. Are there ways that we can raise capital above MNAV to pay for things below MNAV? So there are things that we think pretty long and hard about. Just like in 2022 during Bitcoin winter, we thought long and hard about what to do with our secured loan, our Bitcoin back loan. We decided to buy back our Bitcoin back loan at 80 cents on the dollar. We're pretty nimble.
That was
those
with
kinds of
Silvergate.
things. That was Silvergate, yeah. And so now, as we're looking at Bitcoin winter, as we see our MNAV compressing, my hope is our MNAV doesn't go below 1. But if we did, and we didn't have other access to capital, we would sell Bitcoin.
But that would almost be a last resort.
That would be a last resort. And I think, look, there's the mathematical side of me that says that would be absolutely the right thing to do. And there's the emotional side of me, the market side of me that says, we don't want to really be the company that's selling Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Generally speaking, for me, the mathematical side wins.
Yeah. So they could sell Bitcoin. That's the first time I ever heard anyone from MicroStrategy ever come out and say we could sell Bitcoin. But that's the last, the last basically straw. So I don't know how to take that. It's a little scary.
Yeah, I mean, they basically said if they were under 1 MNAV, then that would be the option, right? Because and they couldn't raise to get it back above, right? So it's also the payments that they have to make to the people, like I said, that believe in them and the system that they use. So I think if they are not doing that, then that's a big problem, right? To make sure that they're paid with their dividends and all that stuff. But yeah, I mean, that is kind of reality, right? And he did one thing he said that I didn't really love was he used the phrase Bitcoin winter.
I know. I heard that too. I was just like, what if we're in the beginning stages of Bitcoin winter? We don't talk about that, right? What if we don't see any type of alt season and Bitcoin just goes down to 60K?
That's two different things.
I don't know. What if we see Bitcoin go down to 60K? You're not going to see an alt season if Bitcoin's just grinding down to 60K.
I mean,
Bitcoin doesn't just drop. Bitcoin has like these drops, right? They climb back up, and then it kind of go like Bitcoin went from 69K, went to 40, stay there for like a month and a half, went to 30 for a month and a half, 20 for a month and a half, 16 for a month and a half, and then kind of build out of that, right? What if we get that again?
So, one thing that we've learned is that this year and the market dynamics are completely different from what they have been in the past, right? So the one thing that we haven't gotten, like you said, was an alt season that we've experienced previous cycles. But if Bitcoin pulls back, that doesn't mean that like everything else is automatically just gonna, it's over for everything else. I don't know that yet. Before, sure, if we were in a official bear market, you would see Bitcoin start to crash, and then you'd see dominance go up for Bitcoin because everybody's selling their altcoins so hard. But that's after experiencing an alt season, right? And so that's the dynamic that's different this cycle so far, is that we haven't experienced that. And so, and then another thing too, is it could be considered a Bitcoin winter, even, with the whole banana zone and being the debt cycle being pushed back a year, right? because it could just be a short Bitcoin winter that plays into next year, that starts to get more bullish, and then we get out of that winter and those type of things, and we experience all season then, that type of situation. So you know, this is new. This year is new to the post-halving year, I guess, tendencies of how it behaves, and so we got to keep continually learn. Was it truly the debt cycle being pushed out a year? Do we get that banana zone next year in Q1, Q2, and then goes into a more of a harder winter for Bitcoin to finish the year? I don't know, right? Like, we're all learning this right now.
Yeah, I know. It's just right now, it's just like Albert, he says, sounds like Shizzy is in disbelief phase. I mean, honestly, dude, it's never really gotten this bad. Like, even in 2022 November, right? It was still the hope. It was like, even when FTX crashed, it was like, well, this is the bottom here, right? And the idea of it going below 10K was you know, it didn't even feel real. It felt like it was just like, you know. And now we're kind of sitting here with Bitcoin running so hard. I mean, you're seeing some of these altcoins. I mean, I keep saying it, but Sonic is at it's never, you know, it hasn't been this low since like 2019, right? I mean, it's sitting at 9 cents.
2019
ran up.
Oh, because you're counting Phantom.
Yeah, I'm counting Phantom. Yeah. So it was basically 1-to-1. So it's stupid not to kind of count that, but you're seeing it potentially drop into the 8s. I mean, this is a token that people bought in 2019 and it ran at $3. Right? I mean, it hasn't really been lower than 20 cents, even to the worst of the bear market. And we're seeing 9. If Bitcoin drops to, let's just say, 60K, this thing could go down to 2 cents, right? I mean, we're talking, you know, the blockchain with the godfather of Bitcoin, right? Andre Cronje dropping, you know,
Godfather of DeFi.
Oh yeah, Godfather of DeFi, yeah. Kind of just dropping. See, I'm lost for words right now. This market makes me sad, bro. It's this whole thing. I don't even hold Sonic, but it's just like one of those things where it's just.
Well, Stan says, who's attacking the bull run? There's a couple of conspiracy theories out there. You know, JP Morgan being one, like I don't know, Jamie Dimon, how much involvement he would have, but like them shorting MicroStrategy and kind of not feeling Bitcoin and doesn't want Bitcoin to really thrive. Some people are saying that. And then they're calling for a GameStop like activity for Bitcoin, but I'm like, I don't think so, because like the GameStop movement was really a bunch of like poor retail banding together, saying, hey, I'm gonna throw like 2,000 in, let's all do it, and then they short squeezed you know, the hedge funds. This situation, you would need the maxis and the whales to do that, right? Will they do that? That'd be interesting. And then also, like, where's the Trump organization in this too, right? Because they were so upset about getting debanked because of political reasons in the past.
Yeah.
And, you know, is this going to be a head-to-head type of battle with the banking system? The banking system's so strong in terms of like having its control over almost everything, and not just the US. They all connect together, like all the, you know, global financial entities and stuff, right? They all work together, and so I think it'd be like such a like big war, right, to go head to head. But we don't know what's happening in the background. But I don't know. I'm curious of your thoughts. Do you believe any of that kind of conspiracy that JP Morgan's really trying to ruin Bitcoin? And I mean, they were actively shorting MicroStrategy. That's a fact. And then also they were making it very difficult for their clients to move MicroStrategy out of you know, possession of JP Morgan, like, you know what I mean? And so I don't know, that's got to mean something, right?
Yeah, I mean, there's such a small, you know what I mean? Like they have all this, but like, you got to remember, like, Binance alone has more assets than JP Morgan, right? Like it's just they really
digital assets.
I mean, assets in general, right? So it's just like, I think, you know, regardless, JP Morgan is like, they're like a Binance. Like, yeah, Binance can push Bitcoin down, but it can't like destroy it, right? You need to come together with like BlackRock, you know, all the big ones. But BlackRock's so invested. I mean, they came out and they said, you know, the Bitcoin ETF is their number one source of income. It's their number one fee generator right now. So, you know what I mean? So to them, it's just, it doesn't matter. Bitcoin goes up. And Bitcoin, got to remember, Bitcoin ran from, you know, 70K in 2024 to 120, 26, 2025, right? So that was, these guys made a boatload of money. I don't know, man.
I think you're underestimating JP Morgan, because when you said that Binance has more assets than them, I was kind of like, there can't be. It says JP Morgan has vastly more assets than Binance. It's one of the largest financial institutions in the world, while Binance is,
really.
yeah, leader. You have to think about like property, obviously like all the financial instruments, they're just they've been around. They started the
Yeah.
Fed. JP Morgan was pretty much the driving force to start the central bank of the United States. And whenever you have that much power from a legacy standpoint, you can do big things, and they're not going to attack it in a traditional, look, what we think sense, just
Yeah.
sell all your Bitcoin. They're trying to crack one of the largest, the largest Bitcoin advocate entity in MicroStrategy
Yeah.
by affecting its stock price and making them be in a position where they have to sell Bitcoin.
Yeah.
So I mean, these are strategies that are like 4D chess moves, but for us, it takes a lot of time for us to like dig into all that stuff and say,
Yeah.
it's like the Alex Jones. Do I need to change my voice to like, you know what I mean? to really figure all that out? I wish we just had a plain and simple, evidence that they were doing that.
Yeah, no, for sure. Stan says, is Sonic the channel's dark horse? I love Sonic mainly because I believe Andre's going to create something special. I think this flying tulip thing is going to be absolutely insane. And there's going to be no real way to really invest in it in the early days except getting exposure to the chain that it'll run on, which is Sonic. So I don't know. I like Michael Kong. I like that team over there. So it's tough. It's definitely tough. Albert says Binance balance sheet is full of meme coins and fake value. Well, yeah, that's probably true. But
They do have a lot of like
Yeah.
blue chip tokens, and it's not all meme coins. But by the
Yeah.
way, the meme coins that they do have, they know how to make money off of that.
They do.
So
For sure. So he's not gonna join fully. So
yeah. Unfortunately, he's stuck right now. So
it's all good. Let's get into the Bitcoin and crypto price action.
let's do it. Let's do
Crypto
it. And before
polls.
we get into a Bitcoin's price action, which not great, but we always definitely get into that and try to pick a direction it wants to head. But help us out on the YouTube side. Smash that like for us. Subscribe to the channel. Turn your notifications on. All that great stuff that you guys help us out with. We really appreciate that. Same thing for X. Let's share that space. Let's get as many people in here as possible. And Abstract, Pump Streams, and Zora, as well as Rumble and Spotify. All right, let's take a look here. Yeah, I mean, it was looking good. And I honestly was, I was worried because I brought up yesterday in our members only video the fact that we did make those candles below the 50 MA moving average, right? But going to the hour chart, you can see we were kind of leading up to, a decent price for Bitcoin got up to 93 on Friday, right? And then Saturday we did have, I should say, the rest of Friday we did kind of peel back a bit, and then Saturday was sideways, with Sunday just being just freaking horrible, right? You got a drop from 91 to 85, and then a little bit of recovery only to drop further down, right? So where does this thing find its footing? We've been using that phrase a lot. Bitcoin finding its footing, right? Not sure, but you can see, it looked like it wanted to be done with the sell pressure, but then it started to sell down again. So right now it's trying to make its mind up here with the MACD on the hour chart, right? We do need this to cross over that orange line, the blue line, to cross over to get that technical change of momentum going from sell pressure to buy pressure, right? We are having a pretty decent green candle for this hour candle, but really what we need to do is come out of this. This was just really aggressive to that downside here, and now it seems like it's broken down pretty decent, but we've seen these open up like time and time again. So we do need that confirmation of this crossing over and us kind of hanging out here for a bit, right? So next couple hours, we'll get probably that confirmation of either, hey, this is breaking back down for more sell pressure, or this is kind of where we want to hang out for a bit, right? And you can kind of see the lopsidedness probably here of let me pull that out a little bit of the sells versus buys on the hour. So let's take a look here. All right, yeah, see where we are right now, it's definitely lopsided to the resistance, right? Just keeping us down here. And this is like low volume, right? So it's gonna probably push pretty quickly down. We don't really balance back out until 84,700. Yeah, so that's kind of where we are in this region. Low volume, but it is dominated by resistance, right? And then above here, like we're not really catching any type of momentum. Maybe in this area right here at the 85,800, and the volume does pick up there, so that's good that we're showing a little bit more support in these areas. And then we get up here 86,000. So if we can work our way back up here, that would be really good, because that's support is starting to really have the advantage in this area here. So we'll see what happens if we just kind of hang in this area and bounce like a ping pong ball, or back and forth, or we kind of run up and then try to get to this high volume area. That's, in my opinion, probably unlikely. I could see it kind of just falling here and getting caught more in this area and just stabilizing at the 84,700. But who knows? We've seen crazy things with Bitcoin volatility lately. So that's something to keep your eye on. Probably a little bit more downside is what I'm thinking for today. I hope I'm wrong. I hope I really am wrong, because I mean, if I am, then this will come out and start a buy pressure session here, and then we could try to work our way to that 86,000 there. So that's the hour chart. The 4 hour looks like it's wanting to start to break down here. You can see the MACD does look like it's just kind of trying to chip a little bit away from it. The stochastics also, I mean, we're still down here, right? So if we do have that probably more unlikely situation of us thrusting up to like 86.5, 87, we could try to work our way out of this on the 4 hour. It is Monday, it's early. Today's the official day that QT is supposed to stop. We're going to have Raoul Pal speak tonight. So there's a lot of things that could really change the course of Bitcoin's momentum right now. And we saw that happen on Sunday, except for the downside, right? So I think we need to see what happens for the rest of today and tonight to get a good feel of how the first week of December is going to be. Because as of right now, it doesn't look great. But again, there's some catalysts out there that could turn, or potential catalyst, I should say, that could turn this around. So that's a 4 hour for you guys. And then the daily, another week daily buy session, which is horrible, because like every buy session on the daily chart for Bitcoin has just been so extremely weak. You got to go back to, I mean, this one was decent. This one's okay, I guess, in October, but like a decently like sustained buy pressure, maybe you could say June to like the end of July, really strong. You got to go back to April, and that's when things kind of did turn anyways for Bitcoin and Ethereum. You go back to April, that lasted until end of May, and then we had that decent June and July. But since then, it's been really dominated by the sell pressure sessions for the daily chart, right? So yeah, we got to get this turned around for Bitcoin to really start to see some positive strong uptrend. So that's daily for you guys. For Bitcoin, Ethereum, gonna be very similar, same boat type situation here. Yeah, let's not get on the weekly there. Let's go back to the hourly chart here. See on the hourly, just for the Ethereum, it just broke back down right here, right? So Bitcoin was trying to get out of it, as you can see here, but Ethereum actually just had a continuation breakdown here. So Bitcoin probably will lead it though. So if it does turn around to the upside, then Ethereum probably come out of this. But as of right now, Ethereum seems like it wants to go down further, right? And that sucks, because we were above 3,000 again last week, and just for us to get back below it, right? Now we're sitting at 27.50. The 4 hour looks like it wants to sell down further again, and then you can see the daily, just a weak buy session here. So kind of, Bitcoin's really the only thing that's going to kind of turn this around right as of right now. If it does start to do its own thing, though, you kind of know what that means. It's like could be a good sign, but that's not what we're seeing right now. So that's Bitcoin, Ethereum for you guys, and the crypto bubbles are just bloody as hell, as you can see, right? I mean, everything except for rain in the top 100 is down. And man, Zcash is really just getting beat down. Talk about a fugazi, or whatever you want to call it, right? You're talking about getting tricked big time. But hey, look, if you
Well,
got
it
into
ran.
Zcash, yeah, that's what I'm saying. So if you got into Zcash at between 50 and 100, and you didn't take profit at anywhere between 5 and 700, that's a you problem, right?
Yeah,
That's a skill
that's what I was
issue
gonna
there.
say. I mean, you got to remember this thing ran, what, 18x, 17x in the matter of 6-7 months. I mean, you can't you got to expect a 20% correction. You have to. It ran too hard too quickly. A lot of people were in profit.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking now the 50% correction there.
Yeah.
So it's really high. In terms of correction. But hey, if you still got in at $50 to $100,
Yeah.
which by the way, I don't think that was an easy situation. A lot of people are another conspiracy out there that like all the large KOLs that lost a bunch of money from made a bunch of money from memes and all that stuff, lost it in leverage, corralled together to pump Zcash and to dump Zcash, right? But even if you got in 150, you're still up, double at this point, more than a little bit more than double. So, you have your time to still exit there, probably in profit, right, for a decent amount of people. But that's not me telling you guys what to do. I'm just saying, if you're still up 100+%. I don't know what else to tell you. You guys should be able to put 2 and 2 together right there, right? So it's down 20% there. Unfortunately, it did kind of pull a lot of the privacy along with it. Dash is down 13%. But even outside of privacy, if you look on average, I mean, alts took a hit. You're looking at like, this is the top 100. So most of the blue chips and stuff are here, right? And you're seeing an average of like 7 to 10% on pullbacks here. Ethereum pulling back 10% there is wild. That's large for such a large market cap, or second largest market cap there. 10% is huge. Bitcoin pulling back 7%. We kind of know that. We went over all that, right? And then you see other stuff here. Some of these memes pulling back even harder. Pepe pulling back 14%. Bonk pulling back 10%. SPX pulling back 18% there. So the memes took even more of a hit, which makes sense. Pingu down 14.5%.
This is kind of what I was saying, right? When Bitcoin drops from 91 to freaking 86 or 84, where it's now, you see just mayhem throughout the entire markets, right? So it's like, how can
initially
Bitcoin? I'm just saying, like, if Bitcoin grinds down to 60K, how can we have any type of alt season?
Yeah, no, I mean, it would have to be like a normalization of Bitcoin probably not gonna get to some of those numbers people expected, and it's doing its thing, being sold down, and then hey, what's happening over here? Let's make something happen, right? Type of situation. We've seen that happen, but it was also normalized for a while that Bitcoin was going to take a while to get back up to some of these numbers, right? I mean, whenever you saw ordinals thrive, Bitcoin did jump back, but you're talking about 30,000, 32,000, fluctuating, between 30 and 36. And eventually, of course, it started to catch more momentum because there was talks about the ETF going to go live in 2024 and all these things. And it's had been normalized, and that it had been beaten up for a long time, right? So right now, I agree with you that it's more of like, oh no, Bitcoin, the king of the ecosystem or the industry, is taking a hit. Everything else is gonna die as well. But then that becomes normalized a bit, and then you try to find opportunities in new emerging or ecosystems that have energy injected into them.
Well, Bitcoin went from 20K to 40K in 2023, right? It
Yeah,
started
yeah.
But that's what I mean. Like, you can't, like, I don't think you can have an upward momentum in any market if Bitcoin's just on its downway. I experienced this in 2022 when Bitcoin went from 55K down to 16K by November, right? There was nowhere to make money. There was nothing.
No, I remember those years. Yeah, I remember that for sure. Going from 20 to 40K, but it ended kind of in that 40K to where ending the year, people excited about the ETF. So we were ranging a lot in the 20,000s whenever ordinals was like starting to pop. And actually, you saw some of the highest prices of ordinals and Bitcoin fungibles whenever Bitcoin was in the $20,000 to $30,000 range.
30, 40.
whenever it
Bitcoin
started to
was
go
in the high
crazy,
30s
it
in
actually
November.
went down against, those assets actually went down in value a bit, after Bitcoin started to say, okay, now it's getting closer to 60, 70, and so maybe we can experience something like that. But you're right, like it's too soon right now. It's too soon.
Yeah.
It is, I do feel a little bit of that 2022. Now, the 2022 situation was pretty dire. You were seeing just like ecosystems and change, just liquidity getting sucked out of them, like left and right. Right. So we'll see.
Real quick though, I think the difference though is like Bitcoin, everyone knew Bitcoin's bottom was in, right? Everyone knew 16K was bottom, and they felt really comfortable with DCAing for the next cycle. I think that was a difference as well. You were okay with putting money in 2023 because you knew it was over. 2022, in that sense, you didn't know when it was over. I mean, you were assuming that 16 was the bottom, but you didn't know, right, until it got back to the high 30s.
But the focus wasn't on Bitcoin in 2023, though. I feel like the focus was on like the Bitcoin ecosystem, right? In the sense of like these new opportunity assets.
Like 2% of the market participated in ordinals.
Well,
2%
no,
of the overall market.
I'm talking about the crypto Twitter where people talk about opportunities and stuff like that. Like, that's how we found it, right? And and so that was the play of 2023, and it wasn't, buying. Hindsight, if you look, hindsight's 2020. You look back, it should have been putting your profits into Bitcoin, because some of the people that did that ended up doing very, very well, right? And so, but that's my point, is that there will be a part of this market eventually, like it does all the time, to where the focus isn't so much on Bitcoin. It's what's like that hot opportunity ecosystem or whatever to make money, because that's what people are doing in the space. They want to find new opportunity, new ways to make money, those type of things. And I don't think we're there yet, but we'll get there at some point.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Yep. And then, like you mentioned, Merlin up 19% on the day, sitting at 40 cents. So that's definitely a big one for the Merlin holders there. B, meme coin in the BSC ecosystem, up 15% there. UDS up 4% there. You got Folks up 33.9%, and Pippin is up 25%, and then everything else in the market is down. You got
what
Sora.
ecosystem is that in? Where can I find Folks and Pippin?
I know, right? And then you got big stuff in the top 200 really pulling back pretty bad. Like Zora down 16%. It's pretty significant. And then, like you mentioned, Sonic 15% pullback, Eigenlayer 16%. So we're getting through it. First day of December, not the best in terms of percentage gain. Actually, it's been all percentage loss, right? But it is the first day, and QT officially starts today. So let's celebrate with a bunch of red. Or ends today, I should say.
But yeah, all right, let's get into today's roll call here. Where we're gonna take the first comment of the day and put it on a spreadsheet. That first comment of today is the great Webdro. I thought it was Lucky Lukey.
Webdro been winning, man. What is he? He's leading.
Wait. Lucky Lukey went on Friday. That's what it was. Webdro won today. All right, so shout out to Webdro. Webdro got number 59 on the year. No, 60. Officially has number 60 on the year. Shout out to the great. It looks like you won, buddy. Unless Lucky Lukey can put together an insane push up. Congratulations to you so far going into December. So yeah, man. So really, really awesome to see Webdro there. So shout out to you, my friend. Then we got Tink in the chat. Shout out to Tink. Appreciate you, my friend. And then we have Hydro Sapien is here. OnePlus Ad is here. Merlin's lucky. Merle, he says, dude, Merlin is the strongest token this entire last 6 months. It really is. It went from 7 cents to 40, and it's like nobody's paying.
For sure, the last 3 months.
Well, in June it was 7 cents, right? So, I mean, this thing has been,
comeback player of the year.
Really was, dude. ASAP Benji is here. Tim Baker is here. Shout out to Lackey Lukey. Bitcoin is truth. Abstract, Spindrift, Crypto. Shout out to you, my friend. Vader Time Runner. Then we have Chips and Dip is here. Here, Trade 5, my guy. Appreciate you. I think your first time here. Thank you so much for hopping in and hanging with us today. Mice Elf is here. Shout out to Mice Elf. And then we have Stan says Tao. And then we have Thunder hit me in the blank. Oh, that's it. Albert, shout to Albert, Stan, Albert again, Stan again, my guys. Appreciate you guys, man. And Stan says, when referring to Agent Hustle, is it under emblem? If so, is migration also? Yeah, so it's 3 projects, 1 coin. So Agent Hustle is just the AI version. You have migrate.fund, which is the migration tool. And then you have, Emblem Vault, which is the vaulting tool that allows you to go from chain to chain. But it's all under one umbrella of the Emblem Agent Hustle umbrella. So
yeah,
but yeah, man.
And I wanted to talk about that real quick. That the fact that Emblem is like the parent, and the reason why, by the way, is because it's the product that's been around the longest, right? And that's where they kind of got established. But the fact that the Hustle token is the one for the 3, I think is, in my opinion, that's a bullish thing. Also, like the restructuring of their company was huge, and they have 3 products, and I know they have one that's in the chamber right now that's going to be released whenever, but 2 of the products, well, all 3 of them generate revenue. Like right now, I mean, like Hustle is something that's going to take some time to build up, but the X402 part, I think that's a big deal, right?
Yeah.
Then you got like migrate.fund, the biggest winner right now, and then Emblem earns off of fees, So, this is something that I think they're going to show that you don't necessarily need big funding to have success in our space, and they're creating these revenue companies and stuff under that umbrella company. But yeah.
Yeah, man, 100%. Excited to see what Emblem Vault does in 2026. I think it's going to be their year for sure. All right, let's kind of get into our topic of today. 2025's biggest opportunity. The Spark Bitcoin ecosystem is about to explode. So Spark launches in about 2 hours from right now, 2 hours and 4 minutes to be exact. And there's a lot to look forward to when it comes to Spark. You have to remember, let's just drive it back to kind of where Spark started, right? So Spark is the brainchild of David Marcus. David Marcus, basically wanted the chain to go with LightSpark. LightSpark is the company behind it. LightSpark is basically a payments platform that helps companies like Coinbase and banks and stuff like that actually use the Bitcoin Lightning Network. David Marcus, taking back further, he was at Facebook during the Libra program. You have to remember Libra was the Facebook stablecoin that they were going to launch via, the Messenger app on Facebook. And Libra was going to use the Move programming language, right? But then, Elizabeth Warren and Gary Gensler shut that down. Then they had basically all these employees they didn't need. They start laying them off or letting them go. One of them left to create Aptos. One of them left to create Sui. And the other one, David Marcus, left to create LightSpark. Taken further back with David Marcus, he was the ex-CEO of PayPal. So he understands payments. He understands payment rails. He understands that entire nature. So for him to go from, PayPal to Facebook to LightSpark and now creating Spark, and then his son Ethan is creating the smart contract feature that we know today as the DEX, which is FlashNet. Everything started about 2.5 weeks, about a month ago at this point, where they launched FlashNet. It looked good. It went down hard. What happened was they weren't ready for the amount of people jumping on at one time. They tried again a couple of days later. It failed again. They put the boots to the ground and were like, all right, it's time to fully upgrade not only FlashNet, but Spark as well. That's what they've been doing the last 2 weeks. And today is officially the relaunch of FlashNet. Did I miss anything there?
No, I think you covered every aspect of that, right? And today's going to be a real test. And I wouldn't say just only look at today, though. Look at this week. Because initially you might see one of 2 things, which, is obvious. One, people get bullish that it's back and you start to see liquidity flow in. You're starting to see the bridging happening, right? So that's good. Or 2, people kind of annoyed and they sell down their assets and take their Bitcoin off. I think it's going to be more of one, but not like an instantaneous impact, like where everybody's just going to buy all of a sudden. I think it's going to take some time. But you do have both the East and West that's being approached for this ecosystem, right? And so when you have both the East and the West, there's a chance that it does have a really good, performance, right? Now, both kind of have to work together in terms of building up some of these tokens and communities and stuff. And we'll see what happens. But people have been waiting for this day for about 3 weeks now, right? So I think there's a lot of anticipation to degen a bit here in the Bitcoin ecosystem.
Yeah, I agree. But let's show people how to kind of get started. You can, if you have a mobile, you can head over to SatsGo. But on the PC, I like a little site called Luminex. If you know what Luminex is, they've been around for a long time. They've actually created, a launch pad in the very early days of BRC20s. They didn't do much after that. Then Runes came out, and they were the #1 launch pad. Me and you used Luminex for launch, buying our Runes in the early days. I regret every single purchase that I ever made those on the Rune side of that. And then today, now they have this. So if you are familiar with meme coins, you know about the new, the stretch, and the graduated. So this is kind of like the format here, and I'm kind of getting excited because I was having fun with this when it first launched. You already see some coins that launched on the first side of it. So let me ask you, preparing for this coming next 2 hours, what are you doing personally? What are you trying to do to make as much money from this as possible?
So I'm gonna look at some of the ones that are about to bond. And then see maybe if I which ones I want to maybe dabble with. But I'm actually gonna just watch as soon as they go live again. I'm gonna watch and see what happens, right? One of those two situations. Do people start to have a massive sell-off here?
Yeah.
And do which tokens start to thrive, right? I do think that there's going to be some tokens, maybe new ones too, that some groups are going to try to really push, right? But we're going to find out who the true leader is starting today, as long as there's no failure in the technical side of things, right? Like the actual platforms and stuff. So if there's continuous, smooth trading, then we're going to find out if Soon is going to be that leading token, or what happens to the first token, Meta. Was it called MetaCat? Beta Cat,
yeah.
Right, the very first token that was bonded there, right? And it's like the mascot of Luminex. Does that pick back up because it's lost some momentum? So those are the kind of things I'm going to be watching. I'm going to try my best not to be impulsive and try get caught with FOMO and things like that. That's the things that you got to really watch out for, especially with a situation like this, which is pretty unique, to be honest. Like, you don't see like meme launch pads having relaunches and stuff like that, right? So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how today plays out, because I have a feeling it's going to be a little different than when they kicked things off a month ago.
Well, yeah, let's talk about the differences, right? So the last difference was they did it at 6 p.m. 6 p.m. Eastern time is 7 a.m. for China, right? It means China's up, they're able to play. They're launching right now when China's at 3 a.m. right? So they're launching in the middle of the night for China. I don't know if this is on purpose or not. Just kind of seeing that maybe they want to launch before China wakes up, because we know that China is 90% of the Bitcoin market, right? They're the reason why BRC20s were successful. They're the reason why, and when I say China, I should say Asia, all of Asia. They're the reason why potentially, Odin.fun is so amazing when it comes to tokens actually going from 1 to 300 million. Right? We haven't seen anything like that in a long time, and it's quietly happening over there. So they're the same people, the target audience that I think they're going after here. But I think they're going to launch, and I am actually predicting a huge sell-off right at 2 o'clock. I think between 2 and 2:30, you're going to see everyone just kind of dumping this out for mainly two reasons. The first reason is because they're not sure if Luminex can go up. So we haven't been able to trade our tokens now in a swap area for over 2.5 weeks. We're stuck in these tokens. You can't do much with them. You can go to StatSpark, but that's a whole nother beast, right? But in this version, you can't do. So I think a lot of people are going to get out and kind of wait and kind of see if they can kind of sustain the 2 hours, right? And if they can't, this is done. I'm going to say right now, if this fails today, I think this is done.
I think it's a fair statement. That's a fair statement, because you gave a taste a couple times, and the last time it left a lot of people disgruntled and felt like they were, their assets were frozen, right?
Yeah.
Which is kind of the opposite of crypto, what it should be. But But yeah, I actually agree with that. You know, I agree that like people. I mean, that's what I said, right? I said I'm just gonna I'm not gonna sell down necessarily, but I'm gonna be watching. I'm gonna be watching the activity, the volume, and if it does go smooth, you know, and there's no issues after like a couple hours, then I think like tonight, even for the U.S. side, things could get a little bit, you know, crazy. You know, if you have 4 or 5 hours of no issues in that type of situation, then you know people might start to try to pick some winners and stuff.
That's what I'm thinking. And I'm thinking China's going to spite us. China's going to say, okay, you want to launch while we're asleep? We're going to pump while you're asleep. And China's going to pump a coin at 3 a.m. in the morning.
It wouldn't be the first time. I'm not even like hating on them for doing that. I mean, I get it. Like, you know what I mean? But yeah, it definitely wouldn't be the first time.
Yeah, I mean, and Flashnet doesn't care, right? Flashnet's like, you know, whatever. As long as our system works, we don't give a shit what you guys do. Like, I think that's the one part of Spark that is just like, you know, these guys, you know, they're not building this for the degens and this. Obviously, they want this to work because it's like we're testing it out for them, right? Making sure that it works in all type of environments of you know crazy trading stuff. So we're basically the guinea pigs, but they actually want to build a whole DeFi product on top of the Lightning channel, right? Which is the only real technically L2 until Merlin gets everything going. You know, so it's for me, it's kind of like let's see what happens here. But you know, they're not building for us. They're building. They're not going to be involved in this meme coin trading whatsoever.
Well, you know, the Spark team and all that, you know, they upgraded for this though, right? Because they saw the you know, I guess demand and pressure that it put on the Spark network. And so I do think they appreciate it and they realize that this is good because this is a lot of users that are stress testing our network and it made them upgrade, right? So sure, you know, do I think that they're going to have a lot of people that are focused on that Spark main purpose and all that stuff, dabble in these meme coins? Probably not as much, but they do see the importance of it. At least the team does on the Spark side. And I think, you know, if Ethan Marcus is trying to convince, you know, his dad or whoever's on the main Spark team that, hey, this is necessary. This is going to bring users over. I think they're going to you know, support that, right? And how do you support that? Probably, you know, give some sort of, I don't know, something to support it, whether that's monetary value to like, you know, get these tokens going or an airdrop or something like that. I don't know. I'm just saying, you know, I think they look at it as a net positive, you know, because it is people using their chain. And that's one of the hardest things to do with new chains is get people to use them, right? So today's going to be not only kind of a test to see how many people are degenning there, but also for them, I think it's like, okay, like how many users can you really get? You know, you guys are saying that you have 100 million transaction requests in this period of time. That was very impressive. Let's see if this is something that can continue or grow, and you know, we'll continually support.
For sure. But let's talk about how we can gain alpha. Let's just say, you know, it's up for an hour, it's running. Two places that I've known to get alpha from for this is, you know, the Wrigglings thing here. You've seen a lot of traders in here. Are we ready? You know, a lot of this, but this is the one that I want to pay attention to. China chat. Right, this is the Chinese in here, and dude, I might sound crazy, but I'm telling you, bro.
He's been learning Mandarin.
Well, you don't need to learn Mandarin when you have ChatGPT. So it's just like there's an awesome thing feature where you can just put the video up now on ChatGPT, and I can just go down the screen, and ChatGPT can read them off to me just as quickly as I can read. Right, so I'm just kind of paying attention. But I'm going to be paying attention in here. I'm going to pay attention in here to get in here. You do need one of these Wrigglings NFTs. You can buy them on Magic Eden. You just need one. But they have an FH token that you can kind of stake the. It's like soft staking to where you just hold it in your wallet and you're gaining points every day for this FH token. I'm not sure what this. I think it's the F Humans token. I guess it's called F Humans token. Yeah.
That's funny.
So I don't know. I kind of want it, but I'm getting the airdrop there. But this is kind of where I'll be today. I'll be checking over here, and also debauchery. Debauchery has a war room as well. If you are a part of this, I'll be in here checking this out as well. So these are 2 alpha chats that I'll be in. There's a third one as well by Raf. Raf says FN Spark, a private group for Bitcoin trenches, is now open. I applied. I don't know if I got in yet, but they're only letting in like the elite of the elite. They said, they're only letting in like real people. They're doing background checks on everybody. So I don't know what that's going to be like, but I'll be in there if Raf lets me in. Yeah, basically credit checks. But that's kind of what I'm doing. What are you doing? Like, is there anything you're doing? Are you looking at some of the coins or looking at the holder count? Like, what are you doing to kind of find your stuff?
Yeah, I mean, I think those are really good strategies that you brought up there. It is kind of, it reminds me of the FNF groups and stuff of Solana, and I do feel like trading in the Bitcoin ecosystem is a little bit different. I mean, there's definitely still a lot of people that will cheat and dump stuff, right?
Yeah.
But I don't know. I'm definitely looking at soon, because that's something that the infrastructure builders and it seems like Spark team and stuff has kind of jokes about the soon coin. I'll be watching that. But it's tricky right now, because you might feel like, okay, the soon coin or another coin is the leader in this thing, and then like that can just like switch, with a snap of a finger, right? It's like we saw it happen in Monad. The big difference though is Monad did have a lot of like Solana style traders over there.
Yeah.
When you looked at Plasma, Plasma wasn't listed on GMGN. It was kind of like Deck Screener, and then they had their own thing. I feel like this is going to be similar to that. So there is an opportunity to where we do have kind of that single strong winner initially, because I think the Monad situation was too similar to Solana. GMGM just updated it right away. So Solana traders easily just converting back and forth. You're going to and hey, this is just the truth. You guys can be mad at me if you're big on Solana, but they can't hold anything.
Yeah.
Right. And so that's something also I'm going to be looking for, right? How many times does the leading token get rejected at a certain market cap? Those type of things. What I learned from XPL, which I didn't play in, but I did observe. What I learned from Monad, and trying to just get ahead of it, because it's not easy.
Yeah, one thing I learned from Monad though is there was pretty much zero Chinese or Asian people over there, no influencers whatsoever. There was zero marketing on X from the Asian side. And I realized that it was just the Solana traders again. And once you realize that it's just the Solana traders, that's kind of when what's about to happen. What happens on China. Like, they run the TikTok coin up to 5 million, all these KOLs come out, start shilling it at 5 million, it drops to 700K. Right. So it's like, it's one of these things where it's a constant, the same thing over and over and over. I do feel like with BRC20s, I mean, you still have people holding Ordi, right? You have still people holding Sats. You still have people holding Pi, right? And all these other ones over there. So they know how to hold. They know, they understand the power of, unity and being a community together and driving these up. I mean, it's sad that like the West doesn't have that in crypto. We're all just so PvP.
Well, I mean, every group of people or region has their, their KOLs that dump on, even, the Asia does too. The East has that. But what they have that's a little bit different is they still have the community effect. But they don't let anybody in, by the way, especially foreigners very often, right? They're just like, hey, look, we can build this up, with our community, and then you have runners on Odin that get to 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 100 million with that type of effort, right? And you just don't see that in the West anymore. It used to exist like pretty strong in 2021, 20 parts of 2022. Really, if you want to be honest, up until Pump Fund launched, there was some sort of camaraderie, right? And even after they launched, the first year, there was some of that, but then it just got so
There's a lot of that though.
PvP.
Dog with Hat, Popcat.
Well, Dog with Hat
wasn't ended, but
it wasn't a Pump token, but it was during that period though, when Pump was launched, right? And the Ansems and stuff like that just that dissipated, you know, and in 2025 it really got bad, you know, after the Trump token and Melania and all those Libre, and eventually there was like no true community. It was almost like if there was a community behind a token, it was manufactured, like completely just really forced, and money number go up can make it feel like, oh, there's true community of the I feel like we haven't seen a true community since like 2024.
Yeah, it's true. So we've actually done something like this kind of this year, right? We've played on something called Odin.fun. Odin.fun is Bob Bodley's launchpad on technically it's a Bitcoin L2, but it's also part of ICP's canisters. They're using ICP technology, and we saw something very similar to what this is bringing to the table here. But that did really, really well. Like astronomically, absolutely insane. It's still running today with like 10,000 Bitcoin in like, you know, monthly volume or something like that, right? It's, or what is it year to date? I guess 10,000. I can't remember the number, but they've done something crazy. And is there anything you learned from Odin Fun that you can bring to this new ecosystem? Because we were grinding, bro.
I think that first of all, there was like when we were in there, you know, we made money and there was definitely like opportunities to make money. But I will say, if there is an ecosystem where there's active East communities, and Odin has that obviously because it dominates Odin, and then there's some active West. If you're in the West side, like you got to be patient, because the East is not stupid. They're very smart, you know, but they're also not going to just pump a token whenever there's like so many people from the West that are just like trying to on their coattails. You get what I'm saying? And so that is something that you got to be aware of, right? If you want to catch something that the East is going to run up, you got to be patient. You got to kind of, you know, try your best to see if this is a strong play by doing research, and then also being really patient with it, because you know, some of those runners were coins that were dead for like a month and then came back alive, and they ran it to like 30 million, right? And I don't blame them for doing that, by the way, because they feel like the West can't hold anything. You know what I mean? And you know, the West will say that about the East too, right? They'll be like, oh, you know, they can't hold nothing. Well, you know, I think everybody needs to look in the mirror, right? But that is what I'll bring over to this, right? Because this is being marketed to both East and West. There's a specific Sparks like Mandarin account that like is all in Mandarin, you know, for the East, for China at least, right? And then you have the West kind of marketing that they're doing a little bit softer than they're doing on the East. But you know, at the end of the day, it could be a very similar situation, but you might have to wait 3 months, you know, to see that crypto burger get to like 200, 300 million. And the problem is the West doesn't want to wait at all. It's all about instant gratification. That is the problem with the space. And, you know, I've said it before, the pump fund style meme coin launchpads has created that. And now with creator rewards and all those stuff, it's just like that didn't really work. And what does creator rewards do? It incentivizes people to launch more tokens. And then if you have a successful token that starts to dry up a bit in volume, you know, you're already launching multiple tokens. So that is the problem, is it's so saturated. That's why people are excited when there's a new ecosystem, because at least it's new. You can kind of have those starters to kind of be the pillars of the launchpad in the beginning. And so, yeah, we'll see how it goes down, because, you know, I do look at this as an opportunity, but you still got to play it right. You know, you could still lose a lot here, you know, if you don't do the right thing and play off of emotions.
Yeah, 100%. And what we saw in Odin too, we saw the Bob coins really do the best, right? The Bob coins were Odin Fun, Odin Cat. It's early days, right? You know, Odin Dog went from, I think we saw it at like 300-400K. It ran to 30 million, right? Do you see something over here in the next 2 weeks potentially running to $30 million?
So this was pre October 10th, right?
It was.
And so people have to remember that
This was
like there's less
February.
this
Yeah.
is less liquidity. There's less liquidity in the market now, right? But I've seen what October 10th has done to Solana.
Yeah.
I've seen kind of what it's done to, primarily Solana, really, right? If you think about it in the meme
Yeah.
culture over there. Runes kind of, but like Runes have always had friction. So it's not, so we're going to see how October 10th has affected the people that kind of hold Bitcoin in the Bitcoin ecosystem. Is there enough liquidity to get this going?
Mhm.
Also, is there anything like Spark Light is going to do, Light Spark is going to
Mhm.
do? Is there anything that the teams are going to do to get something going? Because if there's enough liquidity, I don't think we'll see anything jump to 30 million. Because also, one thing I don't mention is that Trillions was also pre October 10th. It was in September that you got in and did very well, by the way, on that. So we're dealing with a little bit of a liquidity crunch when you try to compare it to different situations. Now, with that being said, if there are those things, those variables that do help it, like Light Spark and that whole group, maybe there's an airdrop or something, I don't know. Also, how much liquidity does the Bitcoin ecosystem actually have to kind of push this, and things seem to be positive in those variables, then I could see something get to like 10-15 million.
Yeah.
But if not, then we're probably going to see something between 5, 2, 5 and 10 being like that top. So that's another thing I'm observing as well.
Yeah, unfortunately, 100%. I think 3 million is going to be hard to get to. I think you put that number in my head earlier when you were talking about potentially where the top of some of these tokens could be, the local top for some of these tokens. When I say local top, I mean like this week could be for some of these tokens, and I think you're right. So I'm definitely planning to kind of participate in this, go heavy, in the sense of just be sitting at my computer and really trying to dive in, especially when China wakes up at 6 or 7 tonight Eastern time. But yeah, we do have a bunch of comments in here. Shout out to Stan and Albert. They say Stan says, is Naxter a strategy or is it also a platform?
Strategy.
Yeah, it's a strategy. It's on RadFi. They're getting manhandled.
No, Nakamoto strategy.
Nakamoto strategy.
Yeah.
I got you. They're actually. Oh, I see the tweet. Okay, yeah, they're actually doing really well, right? I think Jake said Emevo has 10% of the tokens.
Yeah, they put it in their treasury. Look, I know that from the outside, people might be like, "What's going on? Why are they acquiring so much Naka?" You have to think about the scenario, right? For them, right now, it's a low cost for what they believe is a high reward ceiling. Okay, so by them acquiring 10% in the treasury, they have a great position in something that has a very high ceiling. Now, when is the opportunity for that ceiling to start getting approached, right? That will be obviously whenever NFTs start to get popular, but the punk strategy, if that starts to go and NFTs are starting to be popular, Naka strategy will naturally be like a magnet to that, because the people that understand NFTs, they understand the Nakamoto cards. They understand the Rare Pepe collection. They understand the counterparty history of it's Bitcoin's real first NFT, right? So it might seem like, what are they doing here? But believe me when I tell you that this is planned and this is kind of a chess move for the Emblem team to, like I said, low risk in terms of cost of that 10%, acquiring, right? Acquisition of that. And then kind of chilling now, waiting for the NFT craze to come back, punk strategy thriving, and then Naka kind of following suit. So we'll see.
Yeah, for sure. Stan says, since China has an influence on Bitcoin, why is the info scarce in regard of their decisions and altcoin trends? So they have an influence in the Bitcoin ecosystem, not much the Bitcoin coin itself. I think that's kind of where you're kind of messing up a little bit. When I say, they are the biggest holders of Ordi Sats, Rats, right? Some of the biggest BRC20s that ever existed. They did not participate in runes, from my understanding. and that's kind of why you've seen runes just be destroyed, right? Besides dog, and then and I do think that they are the big reason why Odin. Well, we know that they're the big reason why Odin is successful. So when I say Bitcoin ecosystem, I mean the tokens that are trading in the Bitcoin ecosystem, not Bitcoin itself. I mean, because people don't understand there's a Bitcoin and there's the Bitcoin blockchain. I'm talking about the Bitcoin blockchain itself. Yeah. Stan says, does the channel have a China plug? No, unfortunately.
I mean,
we do not.
we're close with BTV, which is one of the largest Chinese YouTube channels, but it's just media and stuff like that. But in terms of China, like they have KOLs that use WeChat and all that stuff, and so you got to get pretty deep into there and be ready to go to senior citizens' homes and sell them tokens called Pi. I'm just kidding, but I mean they have some of the similar kind of structures as the US, but they're smaller groups. I think is what is stronger, way stronger, is their smaller groups.
Yeah, for sure. Santa, does China love Bob Bodily, or do they love the connection to Bitcoin? They love what Bob has built, so they
love him.
Well, yeah, they love what he has built for them, right? He's built something where there's no snipers, there's no bullshit. It's fast paced. They get to, it's a lot of the people who hold Odin tokens are the people who have Odin and stuff like, and not Odin, have Ordi and SAS and Rats and stuff like that, right? These guys are holders. They want to grind up, and so they love what Bob's built, and they love Bob for building it. So.
Yeah, absolutely. And they follow him at the conferences like he's a celebrity. So yeah, they do love him a lot.
For sure. Are you guys planning to stay around throughout the bear market, or will you take a break from the show until the bull market comes, like Ivan on tech? I don't know. We'll cross that bridge when we get to
We're here, man. You can't get rid of us. You can't get rid of us, Albert.
I mean, you can. We're not gonna lie to you guys. We're getting to the back end here, so it's one of those things where it's make or break right now for every company in crypto, not just us. So we got to figure out ways to kind of make sure that we can kind of keep feeding our families and our bills are being paid. So like I said, we'll cross that bridge when it comes to it. And right now we're still full time OnChain Revolution for sure. We ain't going nowhere anytime soon. I hope. I don't know what else.
We ain't going nowhere.
All right, we ain't going nowhere. But yeah, so that's everything I got for today's show. Really appreciate every single one of you guys, man. 130 you guys on X, 25 on YouTube, absolutely amazing, and not to mention everyone on Kick, Rumble, Abstract, Zora, and everywhere else, man. Really appreciate you guys.
Absolutely. Without you guys, we could not do the show, and we like to remind you guys every day about that. So we're really thankful for that. Also, without our partners, we couldn't do it though. So if you could check them out as well, that would be awesome. Right? Emblem Vault is the interoperability layer of the Bitcoin ecosystem. If you are looking to jump your Bitcoin ordinals or NFTs, the RepRepAs, Nakamoto cards, stuff like that, over to Ethereum, you got to use Emblem Vault. They've been doing it since 2021. They are the pioneers in bridging over Bitcoin NFTs to Ethereum. And right now you can take a loan out against your ordinals, your Taproot Wizard ordinals, on the Gandhi application, which is the largest borrowing and lending application on Ethereum. They're going to open this up to other layers as well, other EVM and stuff like that. But also Solana is on that roadmap to be able to bridge to in the future. And speaking of Solana, they have the best AI product in all of Solana with agenthustle.ai. Right now, you can use Hustle with the free subscription level. You do get a limited, like a couple of prompts. You can use it to test out. But you can ask Hustle, hey, find me some low cap gems, make some conditional trades for me on the Solana blockchain, and Hustle will help you out, right? But it's not only Solana. They also integrated this with Hedera Hashgraph. And so right now, Hustle can actually do research for you on Hedera and find the best tokens on that blockchain as well. And so they have the conditional trading as well. So you can go to the grocery store, gym, whatever you want, and they'll take care of the buy and sell limit orders that you put in for the request there. Right. So big integrations coming up with Hustle as well. They already did the BSC. So Binance is on there, and there's going to be much more, guys. I'm telling you, one-stop shop is, how I'm going to be using Hustle. Just have a little bit of token in each ecosystem, and you're ready whenever a token takes off. He can take care of that for you. And there's another product within the Hustle ecosystem, though, or the Emblem Vault ecosystem, I should say, and that is Migrate.fund. And migrate.fund is the platform that can help you migrate from one launchpad to another, or from one launchpad to just managing your own LP. So if you launched a token on Pump Fund, you want to migrate to bonk.fund, migrate.fund is your place to help you do that. And you say, well, the liquidity is stuck. They know how to get it out. Obviously, you got to have your community on board with that, but you can reach out to them at migrate.fund to learn more about how it works. And also if there's an open spot coming up in one of their cohorts. They have their Pump Fund cohort. They're about to launch very, very soon. So they are growing very, very fast. Also, head over to emblem.vision if you have any questions about any of the products I just broke down for you guys. And then Merlin Chain is uniting Bitcoin's strength through the power of AI. They have their Wizard version 2.0 that guides you through the entire Merlin Chain ecosystem, but also can swap for tokens outside the ecosystem. If you have Merlin Chain Bitcoin, you can swap for Solana tokens that are hot or BSC tokens that are hot, and the Wizard will take care of that for you. But going back to the ecosystem, it can do DeFi functionalities on your behalf by using Merlin Swap or by staking on your behalf. And speaking of staking, Merlin Chain uses proof of stake security model, and you can participate in 3 ways. The first way is to stake Bitcoin to earn more Bitcoin, and the first staking vault ended September 30th, and they earned 17% APR for their Bitcoin stakers. So the Bitcoin stakers staked Bitcoin and got paid in Bitcoin for their rewards there. So you get Bitcoin back. Amazing opportunity there, in my opinion, at least. And they are in the middle of their second staking vault. It ends January 8th. So you do have about a month and a week to earn from the second one. They're going to be shooting for that same APR. And this is something I believe that they're going to try to have consistently. So if you miss the second one, then you most likely have an opportunity in the future as well. And then there's 2 other ways to stake, and that is using the Merlin Chain token. The first one is the flexible day-to-day staking option, which you earn 15% APR. You can actually claim your rewards every single day. You can do whatever you want with those. Roll them up in a compound interest strategy, or you want to sell them and hold them. It's up to you. But you earn 15% APR for staking those. And if you do want to withdraw your Merlin Chain tokens, there's a 7-day cooldown period. So just know that before you do it. And then the last option is the bonded option, which is a 6-month lockup period, and you earn 45% APR. You can claim your rewards daily. So that's pretty awesome for a 6-month lockup. And you can do whatever you want, obviously, with the rewards there. But just know it is locked up for 6 months. And head over to merlinchain.io to learn more about the chain and its ecosystem, and follow them on X as well. And we thank you so much for checking out our partners.
Yep. Great job, man. As always. And if you guys have a few more minutes and wouldn't mind checking out onchainrevolution.io, some of the best articles dating all the way back to 2023. If you know someone just entering a space, please send them our website. We really feel like it can help them get started and code up to where we are today. Brand new article just dropped last week. Monad mainnet ecosystem is live, really breaking down what is happening with Monad, what is Monad, and everything about it. These are like 3 to 4 minute reads. We have so many over here. You can just go to popular posts. You can check out the last couple, America.fund, Bitcoin's 30% pullbacks, and everything else here. And on top of that, if you guys need a VPN, I highly recommend NordVPN. NordVPN is my go-to VPN. Why do you need a VPN? Well, if you want to use something like Hyperliquid or MEXC, 2 sites that I use a lot, in order to use them, you need a VPN. Because they geo-block the US. So if you're in the US, you can't use them. I put myself to Italy in my VPN, and I'm able to use stuff like Hyperliquid and MEXC. It's not your country that is blocking you. It is the site itself. Do not let them stop you from using what you want to do. Especially in the US, privacy, that's what VPNs are all about. They're all about privacy. So privacy is very legal here in the US. So 100% there. And on top of that, if you guys need a ledger, if you have your crypto, you're ready to put it away, like Albert says, for the bear market, definitely want to check out our deals here. You guys can get a lot of amazing stuff, especially today. It is Cyber Monday. So if you are interested in getting something, head over to our site, hit our link there. Actually, it helps the show as well as gets you the cheapest prices on some of the best hardware. Recently, there was a guy who had XRP. He had it in a cold pal. It ended up being a hot wallet. He thought it was the cold wallet. He got his XRP stolen. $2 million of he's been accumulating. He's just about to retire. Don't be like him. Get yourself the right hardware wallet, which is Ledger. Ledger is the 100% offline wallet here. It's been around for a long time. There's a reason for that. So definitely check out everything here with Ledger. And remember, guys, we are live Monday through Friday, 11 a.m. Eastern time, 10 a.m. Central, 8 a.m. Pacific, and 3 p.m. UTC. Check us out all week, guys. Until tomorrow.
Peace.
OnChain, 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 OnChain revolution roll call. Market recap. You're not bullish enough, no. You're not bullish enough, no. Look at the price go, Bitcoin control. Why you still coping? Price action rolling. Don't fall for bear traps. Swapping indexes and putting it up in the sex. I can take profit right now. OnChain is where I be now. You can never look back. They don't want you to know. How did the market react? Fear and greed gotta adapt. Now we bridging the tokens and marching the network right now. You know how crazy we are. Nookies are savages now. They know how crazy we are. Chain abstraction, main attraction.